lost and alone in the open ocean. No help coming. No land in sight. Strength, stamina failing, clawing at the surface. Desperate for every breath that could be your last. What could be worse than this hell? What could be worse? That could be worse.
Oh, I can't deny that the idea of being stranded in open ocean, nothing but water stretching in every direction, and then movement stirs the waves. It is one of my greatest fears. But for Lagiacrus, well, his idea of heaven is to be that which disturbs the waves. The last thing you see before darkness falls. So today, let's talk the Lord of the Sea himself. A monster that was so nearly in World and Iceborne, but just fell short. A monster whom is the flagship of Monster Hunter Tri. A game which for many a hunter was their first. And a monster who is the definition of Leviathan. He then is incredible, fearsome, deadly, beautiful and majestic, graceful and merciless. Though also what he is innocent. See, initially he was blamed for earthquakes that were racking Moga village, a settlement nestled atop the waves, a peaceful fishing community, but largely defenseless.
You know, maybe partly to do with the fact they thought it would be a genius idea to build a large floating settlement on top of an ocean filled with giant deadly monsters, but who am I to, point that out?
But all the same, something needed to be done, because if not, everyone and everything would be claimed by the waves beneath. So, well, a hunter was sent, your hunter in Tri, and he, well, tried his best to fix the problem, and eventually tracked down the Lagiacrus and eventually slew it, much to the pride of the village elder, once a seasoned hunter himself, specializing in underwater battles. But that did not stop the quakes, for indeed it was not Lagiacrus, it was Sadeas. But that is a whale of a story for another time. For now then, our now dead, yet exonerated, Leviathan shall take center stage, and what a presence he makes. An absolutely dominant predator. In fact, so dominant, he has only actually been confirmed to have been slain by one other monster in existence, Lagiacrus, who is one of the most powerful entities to ever grace the world of Monster Hunter. Lagiacrus really does earn his title as the Lord of the Sea. He can fight off a Rathalos, no problem. He's an ogre, that's fine. Glavenus, easy. He very much can go toe-to-toe, and thus turf wars involving him would be an absolute treat, a delight to witness. But what is he then? Well, an easy way to look at it, you might see initially, is crocodile, right? He kind of has that vibe to him. But he's too much of a leg-based creature. He is good on land, although of course he prefers to dive beneath the waves, and can do so for up to 6 hours at a time, with his massive lung capacity! So a more apt comparison would be the marine iguana. They dwell on their rocks, and when they want to feed, go diving down and nibble on the plant life growing on the sea floor. But of course, Lagiacrus then is a lot more monstrous than that, and he prefers a diet filled with, a little bit more flesh. He surges through the water like a torpedo shot from submarine, his powerful muscle tail and legs propelling him, as the poor victim doesn't know what's even happening until it's way too late, slamming into them, spiraling round using the grace that a Leviathan is born with to create a vortex of water, currents spiraling, trapping, disorientating, confusing the poor creature. And the concept of surround and trap fish to eat them is a very common one. You have things like dolphins that go as far as to slap the muddy seabed in order to make clouds of mud, which then act as a wall which prevents a shoal of fish from leaving. The fish then panic, leap out the water to try and escape, and land squarely in the mouth of the waiting and quite pleased with itself dolphin. The Lagiacrus, though, after arriving, can finish the prey in a lot of different ways. It has its bite, which is devastating, a hunter in half armor, shredded. It has its claws with the strength to shatter stone. In fact, in general, it has the might to pulverize rock, which fuels one of its main pastimes, destroying underwater pillars, I guess, that give it the wrong look on the way past.
That'll teach rocks to exist around the Lord of the Sea. What am I doing with my life?
But that said, what delivers the killing blow to this poor helpless animal swirling around in a vortex of water as this giant crocodile shark lizard stares it down is, well, Lagiacrus' signature and secret weapon. Lightning, thunder, a crackle in the deepest abyss, a flash of light, and a kill assured. Yes, Lagiacrus then, of course, is all about that electricity, which, you know, in water is a very effective thing to be about. So where is this produced? Well, the spines on Lagiacrus' back that look like quite pretty crystalline formations are essentially giant natural batteries. They work by a thunder organ at the base of each. A thunder organ absolutely filled with compacted electrocytes. These, the best way to look at them, are natural batteries. They will have opposing charge and naturally generate voltage. This is, well, how an electric eel does it, for example. But the charge is kinda tiny, but if you have enough of them, well, you start to get some thunderous results. But of course, you'd be right to think you're not going to get to the point where you can see literal streaks of blue arcing through the water. No, but don't underestimate this mechanism. I mean, there is examples of an electric eel literally killing an alligator. Like, a straight up whole alligator that really, quite literally, bit off more than it could chew. Now, while this might be a freak occurrence, it really speaks to just how potent this kind of natural weaponry can be. And it also speaks to how unlucky one poor unfortunate alligator could get. So really, hunting via lightning water tornado is really as effective as it gets. And if you have to sum up the Lagiacrus' strategy in a nutshell, it would be and it can go beyond that. Lagiacrus produces a mucus in its mouth, which, you know, it sounds about as lovely as it is, and that mucus can be, of course, electrified. Why am I telling you this? Well, now you know how Lagiacrus fires lightning balls out of its mouth. Let's just say it's not just a ball of lightning. In any case, Lagiacrus like to stay fairly near to the shore. They roam deep into the oceans too, but they will return, sure enough. They breathe air after all, and go on land to find a mate to lay eggs, to guard them as the baby Lagiacrus head towards the sea to find somewhere safe to grow and feed. In fact, this slight affinity for land is what produces the ivory Lagiacrus, a subspecies of pure white, quite breathtaking to look at, and found in a lot of the same locations as normal Lagiacrus. They, however, had a kind of, you know what, the water's not really that great, you know, I'll just have much better legs, and I'll just stay on land. And while it kind of works for them, essentially it's just not as effective as being half water and using that electrical prowess surrounded by water. Ivory is more a product of people like hunting Lagiacrus, but they don't so much like being underwater, so let's give them an option for that, making it kind of an awkward subspecies. In any case, back to our friend under the sea. Lagiacrus are the top of the aquatic food chain, feared by sailors as the lords of the seas. They store enough electricity in their spinal organs to make the oceans surge, occasionally seen resting on land. So look, say what you will about underwater combat.
I wanna die. I don't wanna live anymore.
I, honestly, as much as I wasn't the hugest fan at the time, do think it still has major potential, and I do want it to return at some point. But one cannot deny the feeling and the fear of being under the waves with Lagiacrus. He has just this aura of menace about him in his home turf that few monsters can capture. He feels so in control. He is fast and he is powerful, and you're just like flailing around trying to keep up with him. He is the epitome of a Leviathan, the twisting serpentine movements, the speed, the grace, but behind it a power to back up his claim as the Lord of the Ocean. His fight really is something special, and he just loses that slight pizzazz on land, and it's really unfortunate because he is a fantastic monster and a much loved flagship. So answering the question of how do we do him justice, how do we give the hunters a monster they so dearly crave without putting them under the wave, is a tricky one, but it's one that I think is definitely answerable. But before we, talk the Rise angle, we should descend deep under the sea and talk Abyssal Lagiacrus. For he is a rare species, and one that is just incredibly powerful. On the level of elder dragons, it is an ancient Lagiacrus, over 100 years old, and now accustomed to life deep beneath the ocean. His electricity has been turned up to 11. In fact, he is permanently fully charged. Lagiacrus, once they have generated enough electricity, can have it surging through their body, crackling over their hard scales. But Abyssal is all about that all the time, making him an absolutely insanely powerful predator and one of the true mighty powers of the ocean. The red eyes glowing at you in the dusk is something no man, hunter, creature, living thing ever wants to see. In any case, then, Monster Hunter Rise and Lagiacrus. We know the Leviathans are back, which is, of course,
so tasty.
If you know what I'm saying. You probably don't know what I'm saying. It's good. It's very, very good, okay? I cannot wait to fight them again. And indeed, of course, even getting the taste of Mizutsune was wonderful. But Lagiacrus, then, having Leviathans back doesn't answer the question of how do you get around the fact that he's just not as good without underwater. Well, to me, the answer might simply and perhaps lamely be make Lagiacrus a good fight on land. And I know that's the most... Oh, really? Okay, yeah, that's great. That's absolutely wonderful. You're a game design genius. But at the same time, I'm not wrong though, right? Like, Lunastra was an absolutely awful fight in her first incarnation, and then got brought to world and was turned into something absolutely magnificent, even if really frustrating. So it's not impossible to imagine a world where they grab Lagiacrus, keep his core DNA, but shuffle it around and have him be truly majestic and threatening on land. And I say on land, but I also do mean in kind of water. I think the Somnicanth gameplay we got is very much hopeful for something like Lagiacrus. There is enough water here for this Leviathan to swim. A big part of the fight is her swimming. She swims between zones. she very much does writhe around and use the Leviathan-y tactic. She floats on her back, opens up the shells that explode, you know. This is a very watery Leviathan-y based experience without the need for you yourself to be in water. And look, we're getting the flooded forest back once more in Rise. And that map is all about Lagiacrus. It's a map that is very much tied to him. And that is something that I think is very much worth remembering, because if they have remade it, you can remake something to now be perfect for a remade Lagiacrus. There will be more water. We see a lot more water in our few little glimpses of it. And pulling the Somnicanth approach where he can swim, where he can dart around, where he can use his aquatic shenanigans, where he can still electrocute the water that you are wading in up to your waist but still technically on land, that is where it's at. And while all monsters don't need a Wirebug hook, imagine a world where Lagiacrus does electrocute the huge area around him like he can do, electrifies the very zone, the map, the water that you're in, and you have to jump out of it with the Wirebug, stay in the air until the water is safe to touch again, otherwise you get shocked and paralyzed and such. That would be such a fun little moment. He could sink beneath the water level, pull a crocodile with just his eyes creeping out at the top, and then play a little bit of a game of where am I gonna strike with you. It's not unreasonable to think that a Lagiacrus that lives in the world of Monster Hunter Rise, wherever it is located, not the old world, not the new, but somewhere different entirely, has learnt to hunt and fight and exist in this completely different way. Adapted not for sea, not for land, but for shallows. Just like how packs of orca around the world, despite all being orca, all have hugely different hunting strategy depending on their environment. They are very unique to where they live. Lagiacrus very much could be the same, and that is what I would propose. In any case then, that is your Lord of the Seas, and someone I think we all would dearly love to see return in Monster Hunter Rise. Like if you enjoyed this, subscribe for more, and I will see you soon. Please consider supporting the future of the channel on Patreon below, and until then, a goodbye.
Josh, Cotton, and Hollow with the videos, dropping the humor like a hammer on your tippy toes, bringing entertainment on a daily arrangement to take our insanity and turn it into entertainment. Yes, I said entertainment twice, to reiterate that it is nice to look into your faces on a mostly daily basis when you let us in your homes to make the whole world a stage. Goodbye.